As many of you know, this is a preview for Module 19B in the Fellowship for Anti-Aging, Regenerative and Functional Medicine. The topic is sports medicine, and tonight's topic is peak performance training on demand. Chris Johnson is our speaker. He'll also be speaking in Module 19B on February 28th through March 2nd at the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So this is a preview for that module. Chris began his career working for Butternut Bread and Frito-Lay, delivering white bread, cupcakes, and potato chips. This kicked off his training ground for learning the science behind navigating the grocery stores. While working in this arena, Chris finished his master's degree at Michigan State University in exercise physiology before going on to build one of the largest personal training programs in the world at the Michigan Athletic Club. It was during personal training sessions that Chris realized many of his clients and staff lacked the basic understanding of health and nutrition. So he began hosting seminars, educating on the benefits of exercise, eating whole foods, and the importance of rest and rejuvenation. In 2006, after 25 years and 17,000 one-on-one personal training sessions, hundreds of seminars, Chris started his company, On Target Living. On Target Living is a program designed for living a life in balance with energy and vitality. In his spare time, Chris has authored several books, produced exercise DVDs, and masterfully crafted his signature product, the Food Target. As the CEO and founder of On Target Living, Chris is known by top performing institutes for getting their people to their best. You'll get the opportunity to hear his knowledge and how it practically relates to your practice. Chris, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. One of the things he led into that, working at Frito-Lay and Butternut Bread, and spent about 8 years of my life in the grocery store. But let me back up for a second. I always begin every one of my seminars being raised by wolves. I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Michigan. I still reside in Michigan. And like Daniel said, I've been in the business for over 30 years. And growing up raised by wolves, I started out, and how many people have drank out of a garden hose, rode a bike without a helmet, or rode in the back seat of a car without seat belts, and now you can understand the wolf thing. And growing up, I had skin rashes for about age 5 to about age 20, and the doctors always told my parents that your son has sensitive skin. In reality, I was a crummy eater. And then slowly over time, as my eating habits changed, my skin improved, and that kind of launched me into moving out of a business degree, economics minor, into the field of exercise physiology, and then what we're doing today. Approximately 3 years ago, I speak all over the world now. I do approximately 120 seminars. I have my own company called On Target Living. In fact, I just spent the weekend with the CEO of Merrill Lynch. And one of the things we're really going after right now is peak performance, not only decreasing healthcare costs, but on everybody. And so when I was doing a presentation a few years ago in Tennessee, Pamela Smith, Dr. Smith, was in my audience, and she calls me up about a handful of months later, and she says, you don't know who I am. And I said, no, I know who you are. You're one of the top integrative medicine docs on the planet. And she said, would you be interested in doing a certification for physicians and also health practitioners? And I said, absolutely. She said, could you take this information and spill it over a 3-day period versus an hour-and-a-half keynote? And I said, well, absolutely. And so this is how this program has evolved, and it's going to be a full immersion. So this will be a completely full immersion, 3 days of not only talking about, educating, working on your business, your practices, but also for yourself. And what I mean by full immersion, we're not going to just talk about superfoods. You're going to get to try them. Or we're not going to talk about diaphragmatic breathing or how to get a better night's sleep. We're going to actually bring you involved in exercise. We're going to show you exactly what I mean by scapular retraction. When we talk about closed chain, and many of you are familiar with this stuff, but sometimes you're not in the day-to-day operations and really how to get your patients to go to that level. So anyway, just to give you an overview, that's what this program will be all about. It's full immersion. In fact, I just did one in Tampa this past summer, And it was interesting. They had two different seminars going on, or two different certifications going on at the same time. And many of the doctors were next door wanted to know what the heck we were doing next, on our event, because we had wheatgrass and cod liver oil and spirulina chlorella and flax and chia, and we're doing all these things that break when they're just consuming, pieces of fruit. So I just want to throw that out at the very beginning. So if some of you might want to write some questions as we go, what is this really going to look like? But it's really full immersion, hands-on, and really taking the knowledge into a applicable form versus just kind of a theory form. So anyway, and by the way, I'm 55 years old. I have 26, going to be 27-year-old boy and girl twins. My daughter's a registered dietitian, and my son, Matt, is the director of business development for On Target Living. So both of my kids are in the business, and I've been married 30 years to my wife, Paula. So, and one of the things I say a lot about, when we talk about healthcare crisis right now, in fact, I had that CEO in from Merrill Lynch, and he said he just had a meeting with Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett said, we keep talking about taxes and things like that. He said taxes mean nothing. We've spent $2.7 trillion on taxes last year. The real tapeworm in our society is healthcare. We spent 18% on gross national product last year on healthcare, and the highest country in the world close to us was at 11%. So the problem we are facing right now is what's healthcare going to look like down the road. And so the future is going to be what you are doing and how you're doing your business and how that's going to evolve in the next probably 5 to 10 years. Those are just a couple pictures of me. You see the Frito-Lay at one side. You see the wheatgrass down in the bottom right. I also have competed in bodybuilding since 1985. I've written many books, and you can see me at the top right-hand corner. Those are just one of my seminars. So these are just some of the things that we do at On Target Living. We have a facility here in Michigan. We have a training facility about 11,000 square feet, and we also bring people in for private weekends, along with training people on a regular basis. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Paul Zane Pilzer. He's an economic guy, and he's consulted with 2 presidential administrations. And I heard him speak years ago, but if you've never seen this book, I would highly recommend it. And it's been out since 2003, and it's called The Wellness Revolution, about where change is coming. And it's a $200 billion industry, and it's continued to go. So I think when you start talking about sports medicine and basically medicine period, it's definitely changing. Wellness is coming in at a rapid. People are spending more time, more energy, and more of the resources. And if you kind of look at it right now, many of you are already thinking, how much money did you spend on basically superfoods, 5-10 years ago versus today, or maybe you're changing your shampoo, whatever it might be. People are spending much more money in this area. Wheatgrass, we sell frozen wheatgrass ice cubes on our website. And when we started doing it about 15 months ago, today we're selling about $35,000 a month off our website just in wheatgrass. So the revolution is coming. More and more people want to get away from the sickness industry and moving to the wellness side. And I think that's what you're going to find more of your patients in the future are going to come in wanting to feel amazing, and you're going to have the resources to help them feel amazing or continue to feel that way. The opportunities, I believe, are amazing. If you start looking at practices, I work with a couple different optometrists, and more they're selling cod liver oil right out of their office, and they also have a nutritionist on site, and so I think down the road, more and more, you're going to see business practices completely change. Is it affordable for people? Is it continual consumption? Is there universal consumption time? And then you look at all the things you have in your practices. How that what's your business going to look like in 2 years to 5 years to 10 years? Because things are definitely changing. And people's needs and demands. So that's what I'm feeling right now. More and more, I can't tell you, I travel all over the world, and people are always asking me, do you have a physician you would recommend that does talk about similar things that you're talking about? And many times I'm kind of stuck, and I think the future is going to be exactly what we're going to be talking about in this 3-day certification. One of the things I do when I interview trainers or people coming in the business or whatever, if you're going to be successful in your business, number one, and this is right from when you start looking at Jim Collins' Good to Great. One of the things I loved about Jim Collins' Good to Great book is about the 3 circles of success, and one of the things that starts with passion. Do you have a passion for what you do? Number 2, can you make a living at what you're doing? And obviously most of you are making a great living, but can you make an outstanding living? And last but not least, can you be the best in the world? And that's what I'm always challenging myself is, if I really love what I'm doing and I can make a living at it, how can I continue to get better? And the more curious your mind is, and I think more and more people obviously interested in this, you wouldn't be on the webinar tonight if you were interested in taking your business to the next level. So I think those are the 3 circles I'm always talking about. And when they intersect, that's when you get amazing success. So passion for what you're doing, can you make a great living at it, and last but not least, can you be the best in the world? Are you the best in the world right now? And I think that's the thing I'm always challenging myself. Building performance toolbox, I kind of mentioned that just a minute ago. Beginner's mind, asking better questions. This is what I'm fascinated about the Merrill Lynch CEOs. This guy constantly asked questions, and he was really open. And it's not going to be just what you know, it's how you can get the psychology. I tell people all the time, information does not create transformation. Emotion creates transformation. So if you really want to get people to move, you got to teach them how to, people come in your office and they're overweight and out of shape and, they just had knee replacement, whatever it might be. You got to get them to get their brains connected to what they need to do. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And one of the things we're going to spend a lot of time is how to create that psychological piece of change. And if you looked over to the right side, these are things that are going to be skills that I think you're going to obviously need. We'll talk about this in just a minute, but superfoods, supplementation, more and more people are asking about supplementation, and I'm going to help you with that tonight. Rest and rejuvenation, you talk about hormones and stress. Body ways to get people to exercise, get them to move their body. How do they enjoy it? Are they being safe? I mean, you're seeing CrossFit and P90X, and the list goes on, and you're seeing a lot of injuries following up with that, and people need to be understood how to continue to do maybe some of these exercises, but with great body alignment. And then pharmacology. I mean, pharmacology to me is an area that more and more people do not want to be medicated, and they're looking for answers, and you should be that answer. And then vision and goal setting. When you have time sitting down with a patient of yours, are you really sitting down and say, hey, these are some of the specific goals I want you to look at? And also when you come back, how are we doing on that? And what's maybe your roadblock, or how are you doing? And last but not least, you have amazing customer service, because I think more and more, you want to continue to create that service where you don't have to market yourself. It's just all word of mouth. We are in a healthcare crisis right now. If you looked at this burger on the left, that's a Krispy Kreme donut on the top and a Krispy Kreme donut on the bottom and bacon and cheese in between. I took this is a picture from West Virginia. This is called a Luther burger. The other picture's from Tennessee. So wherever you travel, no matter where you are in the country or in the world, you're seeing amazing tasting, very unhealthy, processed, accessible foods. And if you don't know how to maneuver in this environment, you're in trouble. The reason we're really moving in a wrong direction, I got the USA Today right here. This is February 7th, which is last Thursday. Alzheimer epidemic could hit U.S. by 2050. We have 5 million Alzheimer patients right now in the United States, and they're predicting that's going to go up to 14 to 15 million in the next 20-some years. So when you start looking at where we're at today, I don't think it's going to be 2050. I think it's going to be more like 2030. We are in a definitely healthcare crisis. The real reason we live in a toxic food environment, everywhere you go, it's facing us. We lack movement. There's 46,000 diet books on the market today, and I believe we really have a lot of information and too much misinformation. I think Dr. Oz is trying to do great stuff, but if you ever watch his show, it's entertainment TV, and that's the challenge. It's something new every week, and people are very confused. If we talk about medications, we're an over-medicated society. I'm going to spend a lot of time in the last day of this talking about medications. I think one of the best books on the market today is called Drug Muggers. And it's by Susie Cohen, C-O-H-E-N. She's probably one of the top pharmacists on the planet. And when we start looking at medications, we're going after the symptom, not the source. So I'm not telling people to get off their medications. I'm not their physician. But more and more people are uneducated about cholesterol or acid reflux or type 2 diabetes. We had 500,000 type 2 diabetics in 1970. Today we have 26 million. And we have probably 30 to 40 million pre-diabetics waiting in the wings. So we look at these medications. You know, cholesterol, the first thing you got to start asking, whether it's acid reflux, blood pressure, asthma, or type 2 diabetes, is why. So the key is asking better questions. And if you ask the question is, what is cholesterol? Why is it out of balance? What are my options? Are the medications causing more problems than they're helping? That's the key, is understanding, you know, where we're going in this direction. And we'll spend a lot of time talking about medications, because I can't tell you, you know, how many 50-plus-year-olds are on a statin med to lower cholesterol, and that's not the answer. Breaks down the myelin sheath, blocks production of coenzyme Q10, acid reflux medication leach out the trace mineral zinc. Zinc makes testosterone. So again, we're seeing all these medications probably leading into more problems than they're helping. And again, we're going after the symptom, not the source. The future is going to be, in my opinion, superfoods is a big part of that. I have a brand new book coming out April 1st. I have a little chapter on superfoods. Years ago, I started researching. People are interested in supplements. And more, I kept going back to the source. And they're like, what are you talking about? Should I take a multivitamin? First question I ask them, is it synthetic or is it whole food? Number two, where's it coming from? Where's the source? So if you ask the question, flax seeds is the #1 source in omega-3s from a plant. If you break that down into flaxseed oil, that's the second source. So now you've lost the lignans and the fiber that you get in the flax seeds, and then they break down the oil into flaxseed oil gel tablets. So again, now we're in the third source. As the source goes down the line, you've lost the value, the potency, and you've increased the profitability. So the key is helping people understand where the source is and how it's very easy and accessible and very inexpensive. Flax seeds will cost the average person between $1.50 and $2 a month. It should be in everybody's diet across the country. Spirulina chlorella is an algae. It's one of the oldest foods on the planet. It boosts your immune system, detoxifies the body. It's a builder. So many people have cancer out there or just want to keep staying healthy. Again, boosting that immune system. It's not a flu shot. It's boosting the immune system. And again, spirulina chlorella is an algae that will help boost the immune system. It's as simple as starting out with 10 tablets a day. Just wash it down with water. Helps digestion, super healthy, and it's very inexpensive. You can get 1,000 tablets for $29. So again, this is really simple, basic stuff, and they're real foods. And last but not least is wheatgrass. Wheatgrass is the highest source of minerals on the planet. Comes in ice cube form or a tablet. And again, it has over 90 minerals. So instead of recommending, you know, calcium or iodine or magnesium to people, why not get into some really powerful sources that are very inexpensive? And then cod liver oil is in another omega-3 fat, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But that's the superfood medicine cabinet. One of the things I like to do is start out really slowly and have people just pick one or the other. You know, pick one superfood out of the group, and then away we go. And we'll get into all this stuff. We'll spend time not only trying it, educating it, and this might be something you actually put in your office in the future. I believe this is definitely the future. So what you think you know. I think this is really the challenge I put with everybody is #1 is what's your belief system? Because the belief system is, again, not every physician is willing to kind of venture into this arena. And again, I think all of us agree that in medical school that this is not the stuff that's being taught. I was an adjunct professor at Michigan State in the College of Osteopathic Medicine for 3 years, and I was teaching this, and I was third-year medical students, and this is something that's not being taught. So one of the things is changing your belief system that, you know what, my goal is to get amazing results. One of the physicians that came to our last certification in July in Tampa, I was having dinner with him, and the last night he says, you know what, I've been practicing medicine. He's a family practice physician. Been practicing medicine for 20 years, and I'm tired of my patients not getting any better. And I'm thinking, wow, that's very, it's very emotional for him to say, you know what I'm doing is not working the way I think it should be working, and I want to get better results with my patients. So the first thing is you got to go after the belief system, what action you're going to take, and then here's the result. And then I use the Roger Bannister, first person on the planet to break the 4-minute mile. And that 4-minute mile barrier was broken 37 times in the next 2 years after he broke the record because people changed their belief system. So the first thing we go after, and we'll spend a lot of time with this at the very beginning, is beliefs and getting that action. And if you looked at itself, these are some peak performers here. And so the first thing is breaking them down and help them understand that to be a peak performer, if you looked at the gentleman on the left, this is John Carter. John Carter is the president of Nationwide Financial, and he grew up going through Prudential, and he had a boss that kind of ground him into the dust, and he said, when I get in a leadership role, one of the things I'm going to do is come at it from a different angle. If you looked at Tom Izzo in the center there, he's in our hometown, and again, one of the things he's a real believer of is that, you know what, we need to break people down, but then we need to build them up. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback on the top right, and Kirk Cousins has been to see me multiple times, including his mom and dad, and Kurt was not eating the way he should be, and one of the things he wanted to do is play professional football, which he's doing now, but one of the things we had to work on is help him understand how to be a peak performer and what he needs to do from a rest and rejuvenation standpoint with his physical training, and then also how he's recovering through his nutritional training. And we've spent quite a bit of time with Kurt and helped him develop some of those habits. And these are some folks that are, if you looked at from an age standpoint, just click this again, you see the yoga instructor at the bottom, 93 years old, and she's not missing a limb there. Her limb's just going in the other direction. You got a personal trainer here that's 74 years old. She looks amazing. And a marathon runner and the college basketball player. So again, how we're aging, and I think this is what you're going to see in your practice. People want to age well. They don't care really. I don't believe the term anti-aging, but I definitely believe in aging well. So I think more and more people are really going to be, the future is going to be people like this coming in to sports medicine and wanting to know what they can do to perform at a high level. And this is what I had to get Kurt's arms wrapped around. He was not spending enough time on rest. He didn't understand it. His knees were killing him. His shoulder was killing him. The way he was training, strength training, nutritionally, he was doing training table, but really understand the superfoods and how he needed those foods to help him recover. So he really had to change his belief system wrapped around this whole thing. And now he's, in fact, he has a testimony in my new book, but he's moving in a really good direction, and he's feeling better than he's felt in probably the last 3 or 4 years. So the first thing we'll get into is, and I'm going to spend not much time on this, but understanding, I already mentioned there's 3 concepts I like to teach. The first one is the source, which I mentioned with the flaxseed oil, and the flaxseed gel tablet. The second piece is understanding everything begins at the cell level. You know, until people get their arms wrapped around this concept, you know, we're not going to move in a good direction. So a lot of people want to know how many calories should they be eating, you know, how much exercise should they be doing. First thing I want to know is, okay, let's talk about the cell. So number one, you have a lot of cells in the human body, approximately 100 trillion, and you turn over 3 to 4 trillion cells every day. So the body's always in constant change. You need to make the cell membrane nice and permeable, nice and soft, so insulin has the receptive ability to open up the cell. That's basically type 2 diabetes. The cell membrane gets too stiff and rigid. The second thing we want to talk about is understand the mitochondria. Mitochondria, obviously, as all you know, is the power pack or the engine of the cell. And what makes the mitochondria soar and what makes the cell membrane soft is some of your essential fats. So again, if people are having the mindset that fats make me fat, or I can't consume fat, or as many of you know, if you ask your patients what type of omega-3 fats are they consuming, they have no clue. And so if you're talking about inflammation or helping them get back into the playing field quicker, you know, without giving them ibuprofen or, you know, some kind of prescription anti-inflammatory, how do I make the body more, you know, less inflammation, and it begins at the cell level. Second thing we'll be talking about is pH balance. I find that more and more you talk about this, the more powerful it becomes. In the human body, you have a pH that needs to be balanced between 7.4 and 6.8, and we're finding that more and more people are too acidic. That was me growing up. I was eating too much processed foods, beefaroni, SpaghettiOs, bologna sandwiches, white bread, Miracle Whip, Kool-Aid and Pepsi, my drinks of choice. I was very acidic. I had skin rashes. I took oral medication, topical creams, and the doctors never told me it was not what I was eating and drinking, and that never came up. But that's exactly what it was. And when I changed my nutrition, my skin rashes disappeared completely. So we want to get our bodies more on the alkaline side of the equation. Inflammation lives on the acid side. Acid equals inflammation. So more and more people are concerned about heart attacks, cancer, recovering from injuries. You got to get over on the alkaline side of the equation. And you do that basically by eating better, sleeping better, and moving your body. So pH will be a big thing we'll be talking about. If the pH is too out of whack, you start using minerals. And again, this is just stuff that's not being taught, and it definitely should be. And that's the benefit of consuming wheatgrass and spirulina acrylic, because it's all those minerals that help you buffer that acid. Hierarchy of needs. This is where it begins. If you looked at physiological needs, and people want to be the best they can be, which is self-actualization, you got to build a pyramid. You got to build a foundation. So again, I know I use my dog Dolly. She has this down to a science. She gets up in the morning. She does her up dog, down dog. She goes out and does her business, comes back in and eats and drinks, and then she moves up the hierarchy of needs. So we need to build that hierarchy of need. Number one is rest and rejuvenation. If you would ask me, getting out of graduate school 30 years ago, I would tell you, exercise is number one, nutrition is number two, rest and rejuvenation was, why do we need rest? Well, I got to tell you, at 55 years old, this is the thing I pay attention to the most, followed by nutrition and exercise. And this is what needs to be taught in your business. People need strategies. They come in, they're stressed out, they have imbalance of hormones, they have inflammation, they have digestive problems, they have bone problems, and it's basically these three components. So if we broke this down a little bit more granular, we would start out with breathing. We will actually be doing this, diaphragmatic breathing. We'll go through sleep, hydration, nutrition, posture, and exercise. Posture is always going to take precedence over, and again, this just breaks it down and just give you a little snapshot here of how we're going to go deep with this. We'll get into digestion. It's not just what you eat, it's what you break down, what you absorb, what you eliminate, and if you're not eliminating, you're storing. So I'm seeing digestive health epidemics, whether it's Crohn's, IBS, acid reflux, gluten intolerances. You got to ask the question, why are we having these epidemics? And generally, it starts with the gut. So we'll spend a lot of time, how do we make the gut better? And again, it won't start with a probiotic. We'll be starting with some real basics. Chlorophyll is one of the best things for digestion. People like chlorophyll. What is that? We'll actually get into some herbs. We'll talk about slippery elm and comfrey, but those won't be the things we begin with. We begin with the basics so you can help your patients understand why they're having all these issues. And if you're not having good digestion, you're not having good elimination, you're having problems with absorption, you're not going to be healthy. It's that simple. One of the things we'll talk about is upgrading. This is my food target right here. If you went to my website, ontargetliving.com, you will see the food target. The top is carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. The red area is processed foods. The green area is whole foods. This is a forgiving food target. It's really simple. And again, if people are eating the red area, I'm not asking them to jump to the green. It's just understanding how they slowly can upgrade. You can see the percentage of carbs and proteins and fats. We're not going to get real detailed about this, but we'll give people a snapshot of understanding why you need about 50% of your calories from carbs. What are the carbs? How do you make them better? And then healthy fats, healthy proteins, and how to create an eating plan that works basically for everybody. And we'll actually get into not only your eating plan, but what you can prescribe to your patients. Superfoods, we just talked about this. We'll get into this in very detail. I'll talk about the top 10 superfoods. These are the top 4 in my opinion. Cod liver oil, fish oil, krill oil, they're all the same thing. People are so confused about this. Cod liver oil has more vitamin D3. I would highly recommend don't taking calcium supplements or vitamin D3 when you can take it in a food source. So if you can do cod liver oil, you don't need to take vitamin D3. It's the highest source of vitamin D3 on the planet. That's why I recommend cod liver oil over fish oil and krill oil. Number two, the dosage. Nobody's talking about dosages or quality. You need to get high quality cod liver oil. And number two, you got to get your dosage up to between 1,500 to 3,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA a day. And again, it's very confusing for people. They're taking 1 or 2 soft gel tablets. They're probably taking 1 to 200 versus 1,500 to 3,000. You want to shut down inflammation, improve the healing process, get your cholesterol in better profile. Again, that's the dosage, quality and dosage, and that's what people are missing, and that's what they're coming to see you for. They need that expertise. And you can see some superfoods right here. I call them super seeds, flax seeds, chia, hemp seeds, coconut. Coconut's one of the most amazing superfoods on the planet, and this is not a Mounds candy bar coconut. So this is a real deal. Macadamia nuts, cacao is real chocolate, really high in magnesium and whole food. So we'll get into all this in more detail and make it super simple for you. So it's the source, the quality, and the dosage. And last but not least, we'll talk about, obviously, quantity. But the key is if you looked at small steps to better health, starts with hydration, quality upgrades, eating more frequently, understanding superfoods, and then you can definitely overdo everything if you're eating too much. So this is a snapshot of one of our pyramids. We have multiple pyramids we'll be talking about. We have rest pyramid, we have a change pyramid, we have an exercise pyramid. So that, again, this is what we'll be following, and we build on this. So if people aren't paying attention to hydration, it makes no sense for me to go up and start talking about healthy fats. So again, we'll just make this simple. And again, this would be something you could teach right in your office in seconds. And this is what we'll be spending a lot of time in the last day. Are you listening? Is your body listening? This is what you should be teaching your patients slowly over time. We all know that your eyes will be a better mirror of what you're seeing on a blood test, and it might come up, type 2 diabetes or macular degeneration will show up very quickly in a photo of an eye under the microscope. Digestion, elimination, these are the things I teach my weekend events where we can go a little deeper dive. Your body's talking to you. People coming in all the time, I'm on a high protein, low carb diet. You can tell right away their skin, their hair, their nails, their sleep, their pH. Oh, they'll have more inflammation. They'll lose weight, yes, but they'll have crummy elimination, they'll bad digestion, and again, they just won't look, but we're not paying attention to that. So again, what are you measuring? These are the things that we'll be going over, not only for you, but also your patients, and I think this is the future. People need to understand this basic information, but they're not taught this stuff. They're just given a medication. And one more thing here, and then I'm going to break for a second, let everybody kind of catch up, and we'll answer some questions. Know your numbers. I got to tell you right now, I don't know anybody knows how to read these blood tests from just a lay population. Most people believe that cholesterol is a bad thing. The lower, the better. And the stats are right now that if your cholesterol level is moderately mid to high ranges, as you get to the 70-year marker, you'll have better hormones. We know that because cholesterol is the backbone of hormones. Cholesterol also helps healing the body. So if the body is inflamed, cholesterol will get out of balance. And again, if I take a statin med to lower cholesterol, statin meds will block the production of DHEA, which leads in the production of testosterone. So you'll have a drop in testosterone, which may lead to erectile dysfunction. And then people are coming to see you about erectile dysfunction, and the answer is not Cialis or Viagra. It could be stress, lack of sleep, or they may be deficient in omega-3 fats. So we'll get into all that stuff. I'm a true believer there's no such thing as good bad cholesterol. They're doing exactly what the liver wants it to do. HDL is the sweeper, LDL is the spackler, and we have to look at the ratio or the balance. I'm really a believer of the balance of the cholesterol. So if somebody has a cholesterol reading of 220 and HDL of, let's say, 70, they have a great balance. So we'll be talking about that, triglycerides, glucose and hemoglobin A1C for type 2 diabetes, understanding the concept there. I have not had anybody in 20 years of my practice that has not gotten off their statin medications or their type 2 diabetic medication, which is a pretty powerful thing to say. I didn't used to say that. I say it right now. I'm 55 years old, and I'm just stating facts. So that's where we're at. Homocysteine and C-reactive protein, these are the tests that are risk factors for heart disease. And again, I don't think enough physicians are promoting these. So again, you might have a different belief system in this, but if you looked at all the research out there, these things measure oxidation and inflammation. And it's two things, why wouldn't you get them checked? And then moving to the prostate, thyroid, vitamin D, and then obviously testosterone. I think everybody should know their testosterone level just like they know their age. I get emails on a regular basis, 50 years old, testosterone level's 400. That's not a normal testosterone for a man at age 50. They should probably see around the 70 or 700 to 800 marker. And again, same thing for women. Women's going to be a little, obviously different numbers, but they should know that just like they know their age and blood pressure, resting heart rate. So these are a couple of things that we would definitely be going into more detail. And again, more you know this stuff, it's just what are the strategies to help people understand it, and also what can they do from an organic standpoint. All right, with that being said, I'm going to open up for some questions. If you looked at this on Target Learning, this is a whiteboard in my office, and this is just an event that I had over the weekend. It was a private one, and we went through all these numbers, and you can see my scratch on the board, but you can see what we get into, and we will be doing the same thing in this 3-day certification, even probably a lot deeper dive because of your knowledge base. So with that being said, I'm going to let open up for some questions, and if Daniel has any of those out there, we'll address them right now.
Sure. Well, we do have one question right now, and this comes from John. Do you have any recommended brands for either spirulina, chlorella, or cod liver oil that you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend one of the brands I recommend for the cod liver oil is Carlson's. It's one of the oldest fish oil companies in the United States. I've been to their office before, and I've gone through their whole process, how they test it, where they get it from. They get it from Peter Moller, Norway. So that's a brand. You can get that online. You can get it at the health food store, so it's easy to find. And the big bottles are around $42. And if you're taking 1 tablespoon a day, that will last you about a little over a month and a half. If you're taking 2 tablespoons, obviously it goes up. Spirulina chlorella, we private label that, but you can get that at the health food stores too. So I'm not here to hawk my products. We promote it. We promote it so much that we decided to private label our own. We get it from Taiwan.
Great. Well, I do have a question here from Carla. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Carla real quick.
Okay.
Carla, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Great. Please feel free to go ahead and ask your question.
This just caught me on the fly because I read about a lot of this stuff, but my husband used to take the chlorella alone or the spirulina. I can't remember which, but I ran across one of my doctor's newsletters, and they said with long-term consumption of one of those two, you had to check levels of iron because one of these two natural occurring things seemed to be high in iron. Am I hallucinating?
No, you're not hallucinating. It's the chlorella. We recommend the chlorella and spirulina, the combination, and the chlorella is higher in iron. So it's just something to pay attention to. But it's a builder. It's nucleic acid. It's one of the oldest foods on the planet, and it's a survival food. So it's a food that you can actually survive on, but it does have iron. So it's really a nice source for people that are vegans, that are not eating meat. And to be honest with you, you'd have to consume about 100 tablets a day to worry about getting too much iron.
Oh, sorry, caller. I had to go mute you there. Looks like we were getting some feedback. Right.
So the key on that is you're not going to overdo it unless you're consuming, a lot of it, which is, like I said, 100 tablets a day.
Great. I do have another question from Arman. Arman, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you now, so get ready. Arman, are you there?
I don't have the. Can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Oh, okay. My question is, how do you feel about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy?
Well, Armand, one of the things I get on a regular basis is, my doctor wants to put me on hormone replacement. And I said, well, that could be possible, but that's not step number 1. It might be step number 7 or 8. So the first question, if I ask people about bioidentical hormone replacement, is, what's their stress like, what's their sleep like, what's their nutrition like, those kind of things, because and I have a slide coming up on this in just a second, but if cortisol is overstimulated, it's going to steal from your steroidal hormones. So I think it could be definitely a practice, but it's not where people start. And I found more and more, I use testosterone as an example. I've raised testosterone levels up 200-300 points just by changing stress strategies and changing their diet. So I think that's where I would start, and then go from there.
I think Armand brought up a great point. One of our speakers, Dr. Sangeeta Patties, talks specifically about that topic, how they address some of the underlying issues prior to addressing, hormone or lack of hormones, I guess you could say. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? Everything like you just said. So those are things that are actually addressed in some of our hormone replacement symposiums and workshops. So.
And I think one of the things about hormones, which everybody's interested in, especially the 50-year-olds on up, and I'm right in that category, is what kind of exercise program are you after where you're stimulating the hormones? And then sometimes if you have too much, some of these exercise programs out there right now are too overstimulus, which creates more stress and actually can break down the hormones, from where you really want them to be. So you really have to do is step back and say, hey, why is my body out of balance, and what causes that? Because the human body, the longer I've been in the business, 30 plus years, that's the thing I'm most passionate about, is how the body has the ability to heal itself. And I think more and more physicians like yourselves are going to be the future here. That, you have lots of tools in your toolbox that you can, if you got somebody comes in and they're not willing to change their diet and whatever, yeah, by all means, you probably need to medicate them a certain way. But I'm finding more and more people they want options, and I think that's what's exciting about this program.
Great. I do have another question here from Kanakar. Kanakar, I apologize if I mispronounced that. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you now. Kanakar, are you available?
Yes, I am.
Great. Please, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I've been heard some of my patient been asking, because they also been reading as well, that some research out that when you take the soy product, and that it's caused you more susceptible to get breast cancer, but in a natural way, because we use the soy product to help with the menopause woman. So what your opinion on this one?
Repeat the beginning piece again, could you?
Yes, of course. What do you think about taking the soy product and then it can cause the breast cancer? Because quite a lot of questions on that when I practice.
I couldn't understand the beginning. Are you saying flax?
No, I mean soy, taking soy.
Oh, soy. Yeah, I don't really recommend soy anymore, and the reason being, most soy is genetically modified. So if a person wants to eat organic edamame, that's not a problem. But to me, if they're going into, if they're vegan, then I'm going to go to other plant sources like hemp or alfalfa or pea or rice or things like that. I would stay away from soy. And then the protein powders out there, I'm not a fan at all of whey or soy. So again, there's lots of options for people out there. But I think we want to keep going back to the source. Where's it coming from? And I think if we continue to think that way, you're not going to worry about, causing any problem. In fact, you're going to probably, help people more. So we'll get into a lot of that about, breaking it down and looking at the source.
Right, I see. Yep, I got your point. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. I do have some more questions. Do you want to continue, or do you want to move forward with questions?
Let's keep going with questions. I've just put a couple. I put the cholesterol hormonal pathway on the screen, just so everybody can take a look at that. And then I'm just going to click on, you can see how it steals from your good hormones, the DHEA. So again, that's why I don't really recommend the bioidentical hormones right out of the chute. We're going to look at, balancing it first. And then stress and recovery. And then we're going to get into some strategies about what's in your toolbox from a stress standpoint. We'll talk about sleep and the cycles of sleep, how to get a better night's sleep, and I find more and more people, we're not trained in the sleep area, and minerals is a huge component and understanding the stress component. And then the last thing I want to just mention here is you will be doing a Hoshin on your business. And what a Hoshin is just a compass. And so I'll just use this as an example. You have 5 areas right here in your business, your health, your business, your family, could be your spouse, whatever it is, you will have 5 of these. And then this will help you guide your business and your life. And so you'll have at least an hour to work on your business on the last day. And I got to tell you, this is a great practice that helps us in our business. And you'll find that what this does will help align the sequence of what's important to you. A lot of times people come in and they're really focused on their business, but they realize that maybe, I can't continue working 60 hours a week. I need to spend a little more time on myself so I can be better for my family, better for my health, my business, and so forth. So this will be part of the practice. So anyway, I just want to cover those before we wrap it up with some more questions.
Great. Well, we do have a question from Estella. Estella, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you now.
Okay.
Estella, you're ready. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, hi. I'm a pharmacist, and I get a lot of questions on how to cure symptoms, and I'd like, to get down to what the cause is instead of symptoms. So I prescribe a lot of probiotics, and there's so many that are out on the market, I don't know which one to choose. And a lot of people tell me, well, shouldn't I have the refrigerator? Would it be better? So I just want a clear answer on that.
Yeah, Estella, here's the thing I do initially. Number one, I can throw a probiotic in their diet, and there's many out there. We sell PB8. It's a non-refrigerated one. You hear good and bad about both. I think there's a lot of good probiotics out there. Get that natural bacteria in the gut. But even before a probiotic, if you can start understanding a little bit more about how do you cut the crap out of a person's diet, because if you take a probiotic and they're still eating crummy, it's not going to really make that much difference. So the key is help them understand, how do I make slow upgrades? What's causing the problem in the first place? So we really look at upgrading. What I mean by upgrading, if they're doing pizza, how do you get a better pizza? If they're doing Pop-Tarts, how do you get a better Pop-Tart? Whatever it might be, they're just upgrading. And then from there, I really go after the greens, the chlorophyll, because the chlorophyll will help the pH and the digestion right out of the chute. So that's why I'm a huge fan of the wheatgrass ice cubes, the spirulina acrella, kale, spinach, broccoli, things along that lines. Water with lemons, limes, making your pH more alkaline. And then...
Is wheat okay to recommend to kids, wheatgrass?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. Cod liver oil, wheatgrass, all that stuff. So the key is we got to... And then keep in mind, a lot of the kids coming in right now, their genetic footprint's already, there from a parent that's eating crummy. So I hear this all the time. Well, it's a genetic thing because my kids have, acid reflux or gluten intolerances, and well, they're 6 months old. Of course they do, because the mom's been eating so crummy. So the key is we need to get that on the front end, not on the back end. So I think the probiotic is definitely important, but again, it's not where I would start. I would really start in what fermented foods can they consume, and what upgrades, and then what chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is amazing for digestion. You want to improve digestion, you get people to do chlorophyll first. Probiotics.
And how long would you determine that they've been cured? Or what would you say would be a good time for them to practice this
well,
curing?
as you know, it depends on how fast they want to move. And one of the things we'll talk about in this 3-day certification is developing habits and rituals. If you overwhelm people, they just won't do anything, and the next thing you know, they're just, drinking 4 cups of coffee a day, and first thing in the morning, and they're eating crummy foods, but they're taking a probiotic, and then they're coming to you and say, hey, this is not working. Well, it's not working because you're eating a bunch of garbage. So usually if a person's doing it relatively fast, you're looking at probably, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks they're seeing changes already, improving their skin, their digestion. It happens really quick if they're willing to go there.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you, Estella. Our next question is from Anne. Anne, I'm going to go ahead. You've got a long one here. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you now. Anne, are you available? Anne? Anne? Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and ask your question for you. She writes 3 questions here. I understand food quantity is last in the hierarchy of your model, but quantity seems particularly important in females, especially postmenopausal females. Quantity is a major problem/question. Also, in stress eaters and people who have been overweight for a long time, they need some guidelines on quantity. These people want to know amounts and number of servings in various food categories. As a holistic healthcare practitioner of many years, I am looking for more specifics on food quantity for these types of patients. And I am seeing more athletes for prolotherapy for weak ligaments and tendons, and this population also may need more specifics on quantities of carbs, proteins, and fats. So what are the tools you use to figure out this for your patients?
Well, Anne, that is an amazing question, but I would be fighting you tooth and nail on that one because I don't think quantity is where you start, and this is why. It's a belief system. If I can get people to start slowly upgrading the quality of their foods, you're not going to overconsume 10 apples, or you're not going to overconsume wheatgrass, or, it's just not going to happen. And as the quality goes up in foods, blood sugar levels improve, your brain gets better, you feel better. When you eat crummy foods, it doesn't matter on your quantity. It's going to be hard to control your glucose level. Your insulin's going to go up and down. I mean, we're seeing epidemic levels of energy drinks. It goes on and on and on. So the key is, once you understand, let's go at it from the cell standpoint. It's a belief system. Let's get your pH in line. Let's improve the source. Let's upgrade. And then we'll start talking about quantity. And believe it or not, quantity kind of takes over. I worked with, like I said, 17,000 people over the course of the year's training, and I used to always tell them, hey, eat this many grams of protein. It's too hard for people. What they start understanding is quality. Quality starts improving, habits start to develop, and I got to tell you, I'm moving the dial in so many companies that we're working with, and they've never been healthier, and they're not counting calories anymore. They're out of that whole mindset. I think you got to have parameters, but when you start getting real specific on that, the human body, as you know, some days you're hungry, some days you're not as hungry. You got to listen to your body. You got to teach them that. And once they start learning a little bit more about that, listening to their body, I've got a woman in Cincinnati, Ohio, 67 years old. She's 72 years old today. She's lost 200 pounds. 67 years old. She weighed 380. Today she weighs 180. She went from 16 medications to 3. She'd been on every diet under the sun. I had to teach her a whole different way of thinking about food. And then when she started getting clean, she got healthier. I mean, I got one after another. I have one gal who's on 24 medications. Today she's on 2, 4 years later. So I'm going to change that mindset. And once you change that mindset, it's easier to follow. Prolotherapy, same thing. You start eating cleaner. You start helping the body heal itself better, and you're going to feel much more. And I think prolotherapy is a great opportunity for people, but I think nutrition and body alignment and so forth, I think you're going to see less of the need once people start cleaning up the basics.
Anne actually had a couple really good questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to unmute her. She did send me a little private message there, so hold on a sec. Where are you, Anne?
Hi.
Anne, do me a favor, turn down your speakers real quick for us.
Speakers.
Yeah. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, turn them down a little bit more, please.
Oh, okay. Better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much for that answer, Chris. I'm a fellow Spartan, too, by the way.
Awesome, I love you.
Yeah, I live out here in Grand Rapids, though, now.
That's okay.
So, but anyway, yeah, I do run against a lot of patients. I've been doing this for a long time, about 15 years. And, I think our biggest battle is handling stress in people. Because that's where, when I'm talking to them about food quality and shopping, and I do a lot of teaching in my practice, I run up against a lot of barriers because people are working 10, 12-hour days, and they have the children and the grandchildren, and they are spreading themselves too thin, and I've been guilty of that myself. And it is something that's very tricky to teach people and make a habit of it. And, we also run up against, in my clinic, quite often the problem of people trying to ration out their dollars. Like, they don't want to keep seeing me every month forever so that I can teach them these things. So, maybe I need to get an educator in my office or something like that to make it more economical for people. But those are some of the challenges that I run up against. So, I end up having to give them quantities of foods and quantities of quality foods so that they can at least start somewhere. But I do understand what you're saying about quality versus quantity, and I do agree that that is definitely more important. It's just,
well, I think you got some great points, and I think you probably need some resources in your office.
Mm-hmm.
And one would be like a handout, what your philosophy is, and number two, probably need some kind of educator that believes in your philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge I know.
Yeah, I do a lot of food sensitivity testing too, and I do agree that probably a lot of the things people are sensitive to are because they get in habits of eating the same junk and cruddy food, and they're stressed out. But we do see a lot of gluten intolerance and a lot of cow's milk intolerance, and trying to teach people to eat variety. I often use the metagenic first line therapy program, and that does help. And I'm going to start incorporating, your food targets and things like that too in my practice. In fact, I mentioned it to a couple of people today. So, yeah, I think you got to find a combination. You got to figure out what works for that person in front of you. And it's just tricky sometimes.
Well, it's tricky because you don't have a lot of time either.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have more time than most practitioners because I'm a holistic practitioner, and I only take one insurance in my practice. So I have about a half hour, but still, it's amazing how fast that half hour goes.
Why don't you do me a favor? Shoot me an email.
Uh-huh.
And you see it right in front of you right now. It's just Chris Johnson.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to give you a call.
Okay, that'd be great. I would love that.
I got some ideas for you.
Yeah, I'm looking for more ways to more efficiently help people and make these lifestyle changes permanent, because that's really what we're going for.
Yeah, so I'm speaking to a group of 500 or 1,000 people. I got to make it super simple for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share with you some of that.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, look forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Our next question is from Patty. Patty, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Patty, are you available, Patty? Patty? Okay, Patty, I'm going to go ahead and read your question for you. She writes, in the Know Your Numbers slide, you mentioned TSH levels. What about T4 and T3, particularly since T3 is the hormone that exerts its effects on the body, and certain factors block the conversion of T4 to T3?
Yeah, I think in the Know Your Numbers, just to let everybody know that, there's so many things we can test. And so we will get, that would just open up the can of worms of just talking about, the thyroid and, T3, T4, all that. So just to let everybody know, those aren't the only tests on the planet. Those are just some basics, and then from there we'll expand on that.
Great. Chris, do you have any more for us tonight? It looks like that's the last of our questions, unless any pop up in the next minute or so. Do you have any more?
No, I think we covered most of it. I think I'm so excited about this certification because it's not just sitting there with a PowerPoint presentation. This will actually be engaging, hands-on, and full immersion. And so I'm really excited about it, and hopefully some of you are excited about it also, because I think it would be a game changer for a lot of you.
Well, great. Well, as a reminder for everybody, this is a preview of Module 19B being held on February 28th through March 2nd at the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. The Aria is a beautiful new hotel. It's only been around a couple of years. It is wonderful. So, folks, we encourage everybody to sign up for this event. See us in Las Vegas. If you have any questions for us, you have Chris Johnson's contact info on the screen there. You can also visit the A4M website at www.a4m.com. You can call us at 561-997-0112 and speak to one of our education advisors. Or you can also email us, info@a4m.com. Chris, I thank you so much for doing this with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for your help, Daniel.
My pleasure. Folks, we'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll see you in Las Vegas. Everybody have a great night. Thank you.